Hello and welcome back to Car Rental University. I am your host, Alex Withrow. Today we're going to talk about what are the pros and cons of TURO in 2024. Before I get into that, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. Also, check out the CarShare Growth Guide. It has a lot of great information in there about where to set up shop and set up your operation in your city, which zip code, and which CarShare platform you want to use. Lots of great information in there. So let's talk about this. So I'm kind of going through all the different CarShare platforms. I want to give you just an updated breakdown of, what is going on with these guys from a pros and cons standpoint in 2024. So today we're going to talk about TURO. So, the thing about TURO, and I'll say this in general, TURO is kind of like old faithful in the car sharing industry. It's just been solid. Obviously, 10 years ago, it was called Relay Rides. They turned into TURO probably, I think, around 2015. And they've been a solid company. I mean, the company's up to, I think, about $750 million in revenue now. It's doing very well. They have announced that they're going to go public, but they've been very slow in rolling out their IPO. I think wisely they made that decision after watching Getaround's IPO. So I want to talk about, from a host standpoint, if you are going to rent cars on TURO, what are the pros and cons, and really give you an idea of what it's like to host cars on TURO. So, like I said, solid demand with this company, usually always. I've never had a situation where I've had trouble renting a car on TURO. Like, it's just really never happened. Whereas that's kind of a common problem on Getaround and other companies, is that sometimes, demand may be slow for whatever reason, but part of that reason is you do have control over the pricing on TURO. And so if something's not renting, you can drop the price. So the app is very much built like Airbnb, the way Airbnb was originally constructed. So on Airbnb, obviously, if you're having trouble renting an apartment, you can just drop the price. Another thing I want to point out is that it's a great platform for a wide variety of cars. They obviously specialize in higher end cars. If you do have higher end cars, it's really kind of the go-to app for that. But you can rent, clunkers on it too, and make money through that. So that's certainly a strategy. And in this industry, there's a lot of kind of ways to skin the cat. Some people really like to, rent out exotics. Some people are more into just, cash cars and things you can buy just very easily. So, I think that TURO really gives you a lot of great flexibility in that regard. The claims process, I would say I have this listed as a pro and a con. The claims process, I'll say this about them. If you follow their instructions and do exactly what they tell you to do, they will pay out your claim. No monkey business like you might get with hyrecar. That said, I mean, to follow their process, it could take a good month, and so you may lose a month of loss of use. So if you do have the car on the highest insurance option, you do get loss of use, insurance for that. But any other, insurance option, you're not going to get any loss of use recovery. So, but for the most part, if you follow their instructions very closely on their claims, they will pay out, the money. And on that topic, I mean, I love that they have 5 different options for insurance. That's every company should be doing this. I mean, I don't know why other companies don't, but it's so great when you have that flexibility on insurance with TURO, because if you're a smaller fleet, if you have 1 or 2 cars, it makes way more sense to do the high security, low deductible option, right? Whereas if you have 50 cars out there on TURO, it totally makes sense to do, the 90-10 split. And so I do think that, I really like that TURO is a platform you can start out with and you can really grow to a larger scale type, operation. Regular payouts, great. I mean, that's a great thing. The cash flow is very easy to manage with TURO because they're paying out, as soon as someone books a trip and gets into the trip, you get that payment within about 2 to 3 business days. So that's a great thing. That's probably the fastest in the industry in terms of payouts. So kudos to Turo on that one. Like I mentioned before, you do have control over your pricing. I think that's a solid thing about Turo. Really gives you a lot of power and flexibility with regards to, if you want to, maybe hold out certain rentals because you don't want to put too much mileage on them and you're waiting to hold out for a higher price, that's fine. But if you just want to get that car rented as much as possible, then, you can do a lower price. And I'll say for the clientele, I've got the clientele as a pro and a con. I will say the clientele, in my opinion, they treat your car very well on Turo. So if you are kind of apprehensive about, having your car beat up or anything like that, I mean, anytime you're going to get into the car sharing business, you kind of have to like psychologically and emotionally prepare that your car is going to get beat up a little. But, if you have a Tesla or a Porsche 911 or, a Mercedes, that may be a risk you're just not willing to take, and that's fine. So if that is you, I would definitely just recommend Turo. So let's get into the cons, my issues with Turo. My number one issue with them is the maintenance requirement. So I did a video on this a little while ago, and I kind of broke down the math on maintenance. Basically, maintenance comes out to 2 to 3 times more costly than if you're on Getaround or if you're on Uber Carshare, because it requires you to have pretty much a full-on clean of the car, a wipe down, wash in between every single rental. That is cumbersome. Like, I don't know how else to say that. Every Turo operator I know that I've consulted with, I mean, they are just like running around like crazy people, constantly washing cars, constantly, vacuuming cars. Obviously, you can outsource this. I would definitely recommend outsourcing it. I would outsource this if you had 1 or 2 cars, frankly. And so my general feeling is that, the maintenance cost with Turo cars is it's a lot more. It's just a lot more. I don't know how else to say it. And so over time, if you're going to scale in this platform, you really have to take into consideration that the maintenance costs are easily 2 to 3 times more, sometimes 4 times more expensive compared to Getaround or Uber. So if you're going to really scale this business, I would definitely say look at those numbers closely. Look at the maintenance costs, because that is a big requirement on that platform, and they have a tight rating system. If people are getting in that car and giving you 4 stars, 3 stars, and you've got a couple blades of grass on the carpet because of that, I mean, you're going to get deplatformed at some point. I mean, so it's tight, and so that maintenance system really requires a lot of money, frankly. On that topic, the clientele, while they do take very good care of your car, they are somewhat fussy, and so just the general mentality on the app, in my opinion, is it's a little more high strung. So just the rules are tighter. The hosts have to be a lot tighter because of the rules. The hosts are very tight with the renters. The renters are very tight with the hosts. Everyone's like a little anal on the app. I mean, that's just how it goes on Turo. So it's a much tighter run ship. Your cars will be taken care of, but because of the rules, it can sacrifice profitability sometimes. Typically, these cars rent at a lower price point compared to Getaround or other platforms or hyrecar or whatnot. That is, in my opinion, and full disclosure, I really enjoy renting cars from Turo. I've done it probably 3 times over the last year. Have had a great experience with all 3 experiences. And I think it's usually a very good deal with regards to rentals. And so, just I can tell you from a renter standpoint, the Turo value proposition is very good. and you can get a wide variety of interesting and cool cars. That's what I really like about a Turo as a renter. And I have a deep affinity for Jeep Wranglers, and so there's always Jeep Wranglers on Turo. But that said, they for the host's take, the price point is typically a little lower. Turo at this point does not have an integrated like connect system built into the cars like Getaround does. Now, I used to think this was a big con for them and a big disadvantage, and it kind of, that in and of itself kind of has its pros and cons. So I see why they're not doing it now. I think in the old days I thought, well, Getaround's got the connect system that's going to give them a big data advantage, and it does give them a data advantage. However, scaling and uploading cars onto the platform is so much easier on Turo, so it's helped their profitability and growth so much faster than Getaround because there is no requirement to install the Connect system. The Connect system is a major bottleneck for Getaround in terms of getting more cars on the platform. So, the handoff system with Turo, I will say, is a little trickier. It usually requires a lockbox. The lockbox system's like not that complicated. You just hang it on the car door or the window. You explain to the customer, hey, you type in this code. When you get there, take a picture with your ID, blah blah blah, and you get into the car. So the lockbox system's not bad. Obviously, Uber Carshare's doing lockbox systems now too. I mean, it's a little. It's not as, the Getaround system is obviously kind of cooler in that, you just kind of hit the button on the app and it unlocks the car for you. But the lockbox system is not bad, in my opinion. As a host, it requires a lot more communication. That's kind of my big issue with Turo is that, you really have to kind of like talk to the host. You have to send out automated messages, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of annoying to me. That's why I personally don't like Turo that much, is it just takes more work per car. So I know you can set up automated messages and whatnot, but it's just kind of a lot of work in my opinion, and you have to have a little more contact with the renter. And like I said about claims, I do think that while they do pay things out, it just takes usually a solid month to resolve, and you lose that car and that revenue for a month. That's really my only issue with their claims system. So overall, Turo, like I said, Turo's kind of old faithful in this industry. It's solid. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I think that they're the clear market leader right now, and I fully expect them to continue to grow. And and their marketing presence is really starting to expand even more. I would have said a year ago, if you had asked 10 people on the street if they have heard of Turo, probably about 4 of them would know who Turo is. I would say that's probably up to 6 or 7 now. Their brand awareness is getting pretty good. Anytime I talk to people, even in like Miami, and Miami's not a big car sharing town, but Turo definitely has a solid presence here. And most people know what Turo is even here. And so I do think they're, I don't really see too much happening for them that's going to be negative coming down the pipe. I really think they have a solid team, solid system, and they're moving along well. So, like I said, if you are someone who starts with Turo and then uses other car share platforms like Getaround, hyrecar, you will probably find Turo easy. If you started with Getaround or hyrecar and you then moved to Turo, you will find Turo very cumbersome. That was my experience. I started with hyrecar, then Getaround, then Turo, and Turo to me felt very cumbersome, a lot too much work, way more work than I was used to with dealing with hosts, and so I didn't like that. But it's to each his own. There's kind of a different way for everyone to rent a car in this industry, and a lot of different options. That said, I would say Turo, whether you use it as a backup option or your primary option, you definitely want to learn how to use Turo for sure. All that to say, I hope you find that helpful. Before I go, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. Also, that includes the CarShare Growth Guide, which gives you a breakdown of which CarShare platform is strongest in your market. All that to say, I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.